I'm Heather.
I'm Jake.
And we moved from the U.S. to Spain.
One of the best parts about being able to move around is getting to see and experience so many different places and so many different things.
We're not here just to work. We're here to experience the culture and the area.
I am so excited because we're here in Córdoba, Spain today to meet with two of my relocation clients, Heather and Jake. They traveled around the world as digital nomads after leaving their homes in Georgia, and now they are living in Spain. I've known them for quite a few years now, so I'm really excited to meet up with them and have them show us around town.
We first talked about leaving the U.S. to go abroad around the time we got married, so almost 18 years ago.
So before we got to Spain, we traveled through Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Peru, the UK, and it was everything we had hoped it would be, and then some. One of the things that a lot of my friends and everybody has said to us several times is, oh gosh, it's wonderful. You just live on vacation all the time. And we're like, no, it's not that. It's so much more difficult because when you think about it, when you're moving, like if you just move across town, even in the same city, you still have to find new places. You have to find a new grocery store. You have to find maybe a new place to get your hair cut. You have to find all the new things. Well, we were doing that every 60 days. And so we would land somewhere in a place where we were still learning the language, where we were still trying to figure out the cultural norms. And we would have to find a grocery store, and we'd have to find somewhere to get our haircut in a language that we didn't speak fluently. And so it's been a serious challenge, but at the same time, we've learned a lot about how strong we are and about how we don't need to live in a comfort zone.
We started thinking in March or April of this year that it might be time to find somewhere a little more permanent because it was becoming difficult with our work schedule to move every 60 days, and we were starting to get a little burnt out on it. And we said, okay, if we can find somewhere that we can get a long stay visa and we can still move around that place and explore, we can stay longer and we don't have to worry about our passport time limit.
I think the thing that attracted us the most to the idea of living abroad was being able to stretch our wings, to see different cultures, to see so much more of the world and to understand how everybody else interacts and where we fit. Living in the U.S., being born and raised there, we struggled with we just feel like this is not where we're supposed to be. And we'd read about or see other places in movies. And there were so many times where we were like, gosh, that just seems like that would be a cool thing to see. We started off on a slow travel journey and we planned on that actually being a much longer slow travel journey than it wound up being. We were shooting for 4 years of slow travel. And so the way that looked for us was we moved about every 60 days. And what wound up being hard was just the logistics of picking up and moving every 60 days. And because it wasn't one of those things you could move and then figure out the next step once you were there. Well, because we were traveling on tourist visas, we had to have an exit ticket. We had to know where we were going. We had to be able to show lodging at our next stop. So we were constantly thinking 2 or 3 stops ahead. And it was it was almost a full-time job keeping up with the logistics of moving. And so we applied for the Spanish digital nomad visa. And part of the reason we did it was because we were already on the road. And so the Spanish digital nomad visa gives you the option to apply either in person in your country of residence, or you can apply upon arrival. And when you apply upon arrival, you actually get put into a 3-year visa as opposed to the 1 year if you apply from your country of residence. And so knowing that we could get here, arrive on a tourist visa, apply once we were here, it saved us a trip back to the US. It added some complexity because we had to get our background checks and all our documents and stuff in order remotely from on the road. But, picking that visa gave us a place that we could land, that we could stay for 3 years and use as a home base to jump off and explore a lot more places in Europe and on this side of the world.
What we've come to realize is, yes, there are taxes. It's not what some people would call a low tax country, but we get to be on the healthcare system, and the healthcare here is great. We also have private insurance. It was not a condition of our visa, but we chose to do it just because it's kind of what we're used to. And it's proven pretty good. Most people have both, and it's much more affordable than private healthcare in the US. And so when you think about the low cost of healthcare, the low cost of living compared to the US, it really does kind of even out. Groceries are less here, rent is less here. There are certain places that it's not. But if you choose carefully, like, you can live really well for probably, 2/3 or less of what you would live on in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you're pros of living on the road, how do you go about choosing your accommodations and Airbnbs and where you're going to stay? What attributes are you looking for in an apartment?
The short list is we've got to have either a large rectangular dining table so that we have room to work and eat, or if there's a desk of some variety and a round dining table, we can make that work. We now know that I require a bathtub. We learned that by trying to go without one for 2 months. Did not go well. And then we need a stovetop, some variety of oven or air fryer, and a washing machine. And I think those are the big requirements, yeah?
And a decent internet connection.
Yeah, the internet connection is huge, at least 100 megabits.
At least.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer 300 or higher. So housing with everything included, depending on where we are at the time, we try and keep that under $1,300 US a month. So far, we've been pretty successful with that. There have been a couple of locations that as we've traveled that are more expensive, and so we spend extra at those months. And then if you don't count sort of we left them in the US expenses, like insurance premiums for things like life insurance, we're probably around $3,000 to $4,000 a month for the life in Spain. So we've saved quite a bit with being international. And then on the road, it evened out pretty well to around $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Because we managed, like I said, some cities were more expensive, others were much less. So we ended up hitting that budget pretty well. We did sort of the budget analysis and looked at, okay, how much are these things going to cost? And even with, like, our first stop was Argentina, and there was crazy inflation, we still managed to stay within that rental budget and everything. So that was just, which of course we cook at home a lot, which is part of why the stove, some variety of oven or air fryer, et cetera, is really important, because we cook probably all but one meal a week.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll go out 2 or 3 times if we've got a lot going on with work,
Yeah.
But for the most part, we've really dove into whatever's available locally. So a lot of fresh fruit, fresh veg, local meats, and stuff like that to try and keep ourselves within our budget.
Yeah. And it's also really interesting to just, like, one of the first things we do when we get somewhere is we find the local grocery store and just go and explore and be like, okay, what do they have? What spices do they have here? How are we going to have to adjust our cooking? Like, what new things do we need to learn to cook with? And so that's actually been really interesting too. What we eat now, while still very similar in a lot of ways, it changes every place we go. It's changed our work-life balance and our lifestyle in that by putting ourselves in what some people would call uncomfortable situations. I call it like leaning into discomfort because it's a new culture, it's a new place. It forced both of us, especially him, to be a little bit more present. It forced us to say, okay, we need to stop our workday on time because we want to go see this landmark, or there's this event, or there's this cultural show, or we want to go see a symphony. For like when we were in Chile, we went and saw a symphony that was a Chilean composer. It wasn't like a classical one like we were used to. And having those things on our doorstep, and it's like, we're not here just to work. We're here to experience the culture and the area. And that sort of helped me force him to, okay, I'm not going to overwork because there are all these things I want to see and do.
A typical day in the life of Heather and Jake usually starts between 9 and 10 in the morning. We get up, we'll go for a walk. We will have our, do our morning routines, have our coffee, eat breakfast. And then usually about noon, we fire up the computers and start our work day. Since most of our clients are in the U.S., we're shifted to them. And then we'll work until probably 9 o'clock at night, which is just the perfect dinner time in Spain.
Yes.
And so then we'll finish up our work day and either wander down to our local tapas bar or go find a restaurant or cook our own dinner. And usually then we're headed to bed in the
12 to 1 a.m.
12 to 1 a.m.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some days in the mornings, instead of having a slow morning in, we'll use that time for doctor's appointments or errands, grocery shopping. It's really kind of nice because since Spain still does the siesta time, they don't necessarily do a siesta anymore, but things are still closed in the afternoon. So we can get out in the morning, run our errands, and by the time we need to start work, the city's closing down for the afternoon break anyway. And oftentimes when we finish work, some stores are still open. So we get a lot done outside of work hours on the non-typical days.
Yeah. So one of the things we also get to do is we have time in our morning for our Spanish lessons. We'll usually get together with a tutor or something along the way. So as we're, because we're in Spain, we're really working hard to practice and perfect our Spanish so that we can communicate more easily with the locals. We've learned to live in the moment and appreciate it for what it is. And, one of our sayings is when things are really going sideways, our train has been canceled and we're not going to be able to get down to where we're going to be. And they're talking about putting us on a bus, or then they change their mind. They're going to send us to another train station 2 hours away to ride 2 hours back. And we look at each other and go, look, it's an adventure. We're here, we're seeing things, and we've learned not to plan, like have a plan, but know that it's going to change and know that you need to be flexible. Like the things that we miss about the U.S., there's the ability to get anything at about any time.
Yeah.
The total prevalence of Amazon and some of the other retailers. And if you realize that you need a ingredient for dinner, you can just pop to the store and get it. And regardless of really kind of how esoteric it is. And so here, there's a lot of, if you realize at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that you need something from the ferreteria, I'm sorry, it's 2 o'clock. They've shut the doors, they're gone home, and they won't be back till 5. And so you learn kind of, you can't just order something on Amazon and have it here tomorrow. And so it gave us it was good, but at the same time, there are times when we go, oh, we really need a blank, and we can't have that for a while.
And it's interesting that he says that's something we miss, because that's one of the things I was so excited to get away from. I love the idea of businesses closed. Those people get their time. They get time with their families. They get time to run their errands. And if we can't have it right then, oh, well, we'll get it whenever. And we have to go to multiple stores to get different things. There's not a lot of one-stop shopping in the rest of the world. And I love that. I think the thing, honestly, I miss the most about the U.S. is mainly just our friends and our family, like the people.
Keeping in touch with friends and family back home is a combination for us of WhatsApp, Google Chat, and the occasional text message. Like we've got a couple of text message groups that we are still in, but we've migrated a bunch of people to WhatsApp, and that makes it easy. And then of course we'll also do like drop-in lives. Like we'll say, we'll let all our friends and family know that, hey, we're going to be in this Google Meet session for about 2 hours. We'll be live the whole time. So just, use the link, drop in if you want to, we'll catch up. And we've done a couple of those. Those have been really good. And then other times we'll just schedule video conferences.
And we've got a couple of friends that, I have one friend actually 2 sets of friends we have a monthly video chat with every month. And then another one of my friends, she and I talk at least twice a week on the phone. And we just like randomly call up friends, kind of the way when we were all spread out in the U.S. Because that's the interesting thing. We moved around a lot in the U.S. and a number of our friends did too. And so we were rarely in the same place as our friends and family. So we were already sort of doing the long distance communication.
Well, that's a good point, because we've always been somewhat nomadic. I mean, the longest we have ever lived in one place was 5 years.
Yep.
We bought a small farm in Middle Georgia, and we lived there for 5 years. And then other than that, I think it was 2 years, 3 years tops.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever finished out a lease more than 2 years.
No.
It's always, so we were always geared towards moving around, seeing new things, from North Georgia, or she grew up in South Georgia. I grew up in North Georgia. Then we met in South Georgia, moved to Atlanta, and then moved back to Middle Georgia, then moved to Tennessee. And then even in Middle Tennessee, we moved
4 times.
4 times, just around the Nashville area.
Yeah.
And then from there up to Pennsylvania. So we've always kind of been like, we get wanderlust and we go, we've got to move again.
I think the main 2 reasons that we chose to move to Spain were the language and the lifestyle, because we'd been in Latin America for 9 months, I think. And so we were already making really good progress with our Spanish, and just the culture, like the tranquilo culture of like, they eat later and they do take that break. Like everything closes down in the afternoon so people can go home and have a nice lunch and spend time with their families or do what they need to do. And I felt like that would be a really good environment, especially with as much as Jake was overworking in the U.S. Like being in that environment would help force him to be like, oh, I don't have to work like this. Yeah, and another advantage to Spain is with 17 autonomous regions, I don't know how many people in the U.S. understand like the culture is so different in each of those regions. So in addition to having European countries to explore, we have 17 different regions in Spain to explore. We were 2 or 3 months into the process. We said, okay, we should reach out to Kristin because like we're really good at research. We feel like we have this covered, but she's been doing this for 20 years. Like she's lived the lifestyle we want to live, and she will be able to make sure we don't make any huge mistakes. And there will be things we're not thinking of that she'll be able to help us with. And that actually proved pretty true. Like we had the basics down, but like Jake has mentioned before, the checklist for like when you check into a place and how to search for an apartment, there were things on there we wouldn't have thought of.
Yep.
And then also just the making sure you can access your banking, making sure you can move money when you need to, having backups and different things like that were really useful.
I think too, just having the ability to ask you the questions that as they came up, and having the calls and having the chance to go through the process with other people that you were sharing a community as well of like-minded people that could understand what you were doing and why it was important to you was a really, like, it kept us motivated and kept us like excited for what we were doing. My
piece of advice would be make sure you understand your why. Because if you don't know why you're doing this, then when it gets hard, and it will get hard, at some point, something's going to be hard. When it gets hard, if you don't understand why you're doing it, you'll quit and you'll give up and you'll go back and say, oh, well, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, it wasn't what I expected, it was too hard. But if you understand your why, and you know exactly why you're doing it, you can push through just about anything. Because they always say, I think the saying is, always run towards something, don't run away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're like, oh, well, I want to leave the U.S. because I don't like this about it, or I don't like that about it. Okay, well, there are going to be things you don't like in every place you go in the world. But if you say, I want to go somewhere because I want this experience, or I want this growth, or I want to see these things, or, if you know what you're going towards, it's a whole lot more likely you'll succeed.
It's not permanent. Nothing that you do, if you decide you want to move abroad, if you decide that you want to slow travel, if you decide that you want to sell everything and jump off on this journey, you've sold stuff. You have, and almost all of it's going to be replaceable. And if you get somewhere and you realize that you don't like it, then you can move on to another place. Maybe you'll find the second stop, the third stop, the fourth stop is where you fit. And if you decide after you've done it for a little while that you really don't like it, there's nothing to stop you from going back. But if you don't go, if it constantly stays out there in front of you as a maybe someday, you'll never know.
I think that Heather and Jake were successful with their relocation because they came into the entire experience with a positive mindset and also a resilient one. You really need to be flexible during this process. And as they mentioned, there's going to be hard times. So you need to be able to go with the highs and the lows. But they were always really diligent with the homework assignments that I would give them. And they were really transparent with me. And that really allowed me to help them decide where to move, decide where to slow travel, and ultimately here we are 2 years later. So I hope that hearing a little bit about their experience is helping you on your relocation journey, and make sure to watch this video next so you can see more of our clients who are living in Spain.